Hey everyone, this is Giuseppe Rossi here. I want to welcome you all to my first podcast. This is something new, something I've been wanting to do post career. A lot of things that I want to talk about, a lot of things I want to get off my chest. I've been in the game for 19 years, and a lot of things have happened. I've always tried to be a model professional, and I think taking the energy and taking my mind off the game was never what I wanted to do during my career. So I have this opportunity now. I have this platform. I have the time more than anything right now to be able to share my ideas and to express things that maybe back in the day I didn't. And therefore, I hope you guys can stick around. Enjoy these conversations about soccer, about things that are happening today, my experiences, certain situations that happened to me that we'll go on and talk about freely. Situations in youth soccer today. What is the state of youth soccer? What is the state of soccer in general? So thank you for being here with me, and let's go. Here I am, Giuseppe Rossi, post career. It's uh, it's a little bit weird saying that, right? I never thought I would. I never thought I would say that I'm retired, right? That word kind of scares me still today. But reality is reality, and I just gotta get used to it. I have more time now with with my little kid, with my wife, doing daddy duties, driving my little girl to school every day, being able to spend more time with family, being available for anything that anybody needs, right? So back in the day, it was never like that. I left the country when I was 12 years old, right, to start my soccer career. And that's where it all started being a little bit different for me, right, from anybody else. Every time I came home um, during the summertime, because I had 2 months off from soccer and from school. I came back home here in America, and I always felt like the outsider, right? Just because of the experiences in life and what we had to, me and my father when we left the country, what we had to go through in order to start this journey. So let's just take it back to when I was 4 years old. I grew up in Clifton, New Jersey. At 4 years old, I started playing soccer. The passion grew for me because of what my dad transmitted. My passion for the game grew thanks to my father, who loved this game. He's an immigrant from Italy. He came in here when he was 16 years old. He met my mother, who's also from Italy, born and raised in Italy, and my grandparents, they came to Italy. So the love I have for this game is all thanks to my father. He was a big fan of soccer, and being born and raised in Italy, that's really all that there is, right? Picking up a soccer ball, going on the streets, playing with your friends. That's basically how my father really really grew, loving this game, which is literally playing on the streets in his home little town in Fraine. My father and my mother both come from little towns in Italy, and at a very young age, my grandparents, they decided to come to America uh, to live a better life, because back in Italy, obviously, life was a little bit different. So they came and they grew up. They met each other down at the high school because they were teachers, and voila, me and my sister happened, right? So at 2 years old, my father was already putting out cones in the backyard. He used to come back from teaching for his lunch break. Didn't even go out to have his lunch or whatnot. He didn't even go inside. My mom prepared him food. No. First thing you do was put cones in the backyard at 2 years old, and I'm dribbling in between the cones. So my father loved the game, right? And he was able to pass it along. He was a big Milan fan, huge AC Milan fan. So guess what? I became a huge AC Milan fan. Every Sunday, we used to come down with our AC Milan jerseys, and we used to watch the games at 9 o'clock in the morning. And that was something that I'll never forget, right? We have pictures of me and him wearing our Milan jerseys and whatnot. And my first idol was Ruud Gullit, because my father loved Ruud Gullit, right? Then I started falling in love with Marco van Basten. Then the great George Weah was my idol. After George Weah was Andriy Shevchenko. We're talking about amazing players who made history on Mina. So growing up, I was a huge AC Milan fan, right? So watching the games, my father was a coach for Clifton High School, going to these practices, going to his games. It was a part of me, right? Every single second of the day was about the ball, and being able to play in the backyard. We used to also do 2v2, so it was me and my mother versus my father and my sister, right? So um, the ball was always part of my life, right? Since I was a little boy. So this love and this passion for the game grew and grew and grew. At 12 years old, my father was like, "Hey, let's go to Italy. Let's try it. Let's see how we handle playing with the big guys, playing with the people that, live and breathe this game, right?" So listen, at 12 years old, we made the decision to go to Parma. How did we get to Parma? At 9 years old, I was able to attend a soccer school in the vicinity of Parma. So I went there for 3 straight years, 9, 10, 11 years old. I'll never forget when I was 9 years old. We all flew to Italy. I never slept by myself in a hotel room, but for that camp, I had to sleep by myself with another guy. So I was sharing a room with this kid, and the first night I was scared. I was scared. I wanted to be with my mom and my dad and my sister. I wanted to be with them, and they were with the hotel right next door. So I go down to the lobby. It was 10 o'clock at night. I'm like, "Hey, coach, I need to go see my parents. I need to go see my parents." So I run to the room. I'm crying. I'm like, "Yo, I don't want to do this. I don't want to be here. Please, like, can I stay here tonight?" So they talked to me. They were saying, "Listen, you got to do it. This is what is required." Had a little pep talk with my pops, and that's it. And then the rest is history. So did that for 3 years, man. Did that for 3 years, and the third year comes up. This guy from Parma, he's the youth director. He's a youth scout, whatever he was. He was like, "Hey, listen, you want to come and try out for Parma?" My dad was ecstatic. It was great. I was happy as hell too. Everybody was, right? So we're like, "Yeah, of course, no problem." We go down to Parma. We stayed there for 2 weeks in '99. Stayed there for 2 weeks during my Easter break. I killed it. "Hey, we want your son to play for our youth system," and that was a decision that we all had to make. We weighed out the pros and cons. That process was rough. All right, I'll tell you about that process. At 12 years old, weighing out the pros and cons. Right, the pros. Everybody knows what the pros are in that, which is you're going to Italy and playing soccer in Italy. You're playing for Parma, which in that time was a Serie A team. You had Buffon, you had Thuram, you had Cannavaro, Hernan Crespo. You had amazing players. I think they even came second, right behind Juventus that year. So they were a big team, and it was something that every kid wished to do, right? Go play in Italy for these type of teams. So those are the pros, right? And then you start going with the cons, right? At 12 years old, you're like, "I'm leaving home. I'm leaving my mother." All right, just think about 12 years old leaving your mother. That's tough. That is tough. You have your sister. I'm very, very close to my sister. We used to fight every time, but it doesn't matter. We were very, very close. Your everyday life, right? You have your friends. You have your soccer team, right? Things you love to do. That has to all be interrupted to go to Italy and play. So we made a decision to go. Obviously, it was my decision. My father was like, "What do you want to do?" I never wanted to let my father down, right? I wanted him to always be proud of me. I wanted to show him that I'm not scared of anything. Like, this is our dream. Let's do it. But deep down, yeah, I was scared. I was scared. I didn't. It was kind of like, it was scary to leave something that you know and go into the unknown at 12 years old, right? There's people that are older, 30, 40, 50, like they get scared doing that. Imagine a kid at 12 years old doing that, right? So yeah, so I was like, "Hey, pops, let's do it. Let's do it." We get there. My father confessed to me. After all this, he confessed to me that he was ready to leave after a couple weeks or a month because he didn't think that I was able to withstand it because it would have been too much. So he didn't tell me, but he was already ready in his mind to be like, all right, we're gonna come back. But anyway, we get there, and it was rough, man. I'm telling you, it was rough because the language barrier was kind of crazy. I did know the language. Italian was my first language, right? I went to school here in America, and I didn't know a lick of English. So for the first couple of months, I had no idea what the hell was going on in school because I only knew Italian. But then in school, obviously, you learn English, right? So I knew the language. A lot of my family members speak dialect, so it kind of, the words in Italian and dialect are a little bit different. So I had a little bit of trouble with that. But I was able to pick it up pretty quick. Problem is that you're kind of looked upon, as like a different person once you once you get to Italy and you're dealing with, kids that age. So, they kind of put you to the side in school. I mean, you're not talking to people. You're like the weird one. So that was kind of new to me. It was kind of like, all right, like, how do I navigate towards this? What helped me the most was soccer, right? Because if you're good at soccer in Italy, you're like God. So everybody knew that I was playing for Parma. So in that area of playing for Parma was like, was like as if you're a superstar. So I was able to use my soccer story to gain a little bit of traction, a little bit more of, curiosity from these kids to be like, hey, come and talk to me. I'm not a bad guy. I'm just like you guys or whatnot. And we are very similar, right? So soccer helped me a lot in that time where I was finding a lot of difficulty making friends outside of soccer. Because when it came to soccer, it was freedom. It was something that I knew, something that I was better at than everybody. So therefore, I felt comfortable. People were gravitating to me more on my soccer team than the kids from school because everybody wanted, to play with me, to be part of my team or whatnot, right? So that was the easier part, the soccer part. Soccer is an international language, right? You don't need to talk. You don't need to gesture. You just play. And therefore, that's what helped me a lot. Feel at ease in my first couple months, getting used to this new type of lifestyle. What I'll never forget, in that first 2 months, my mother came to visit me. I think it was a month and a half right after I left. My mom came to visit me, and I'm not kidding you, bro. I'm not kidding you. I feel like it was 2 years that I didn't see my mother. So I get out of school, and my father never carries my backpack. Never. He was like, give me your backpack today. I'm like, what? He's like, give me your backpack. I'm like, all right, I'll take it. My mom's hiding behind a tree. She comes out, and I'm running to her like as if like I'm Forrest Gump, man. I'm running so hard, blah, blah. And I'll never forget that feeling because I was never away from my mom for that long. And still to this day, she remembers like that hug. Like that's our hug, right? So yeah, great memories, great memories during that period. Playing for Parma for all those years during the youth system was awesome. I was able to progress year in and year out, scoring goals, being a very important player for the youth system. There was just this one year, this half a year. I'm going to say half a year. This half a year that things got a little iffy, and I'll tell you why. So my parents, they're teachers, right? They have a job. They can't be leaving their job this whole time to be with me, right? So they gotta figure out a way to make ends meet, right? So what happened was the first year my father came with me, and he took 6 months off of work. He had to go back. So guess what? The second year, my mother and my sister came. They stayed for a whole year. My pops came to visit me very often, whatnot. He came to visit us often. Third year comes. Mom and dad can't take time off, right? So I had to be put um, into a school where you sleep there and you go to school, and all other soccer players were there from the part of my youth system. That was my first, you know, touch of freedom. My first time being by myself. And I was like 14 years old. So out of 7 classes, I was failing 6. The only one that I was doing well with was in English. Go figure, right? Um, Usually during my soccer career, in 20 games, I would be scoring 30 goals. I only scored 8 in this half season. So word got to my father from people from the school, people from the soccer team. They're like the parents. They will call him up, being like, "Yo, listen, there's something up with Giuseppe. He's a little bit different. When now things are not going the way they should." So my pop comes in January. So the season starts in August. January, we have at 14 years old, we have the most serious conversation that a parent could have to a 14-year-old. Giuseppe, what's wrong with you? Are you doing drugs? Are you going out? Are you all the crazy things that you have a conversation with an 18-year-old he's having me with as a 14-year-old, right? And I'm like, listen, nothing's going on. It's just that this is new. Like everything is just new to me, right? My father decided after that conversation to retire. No more teaching, no more coaching, full time with me. And that was the best decision that anybody has made for me in my career, because if that didn't happen, I would probably be not to where I would have liked to be in this sport. So my pops comes in January, season ends in June. From failing 7 classes out of 8, I failed only 1 out of 8, which was Italian, and Italian was too hard. So it's okay. My father was like, "Listen, don't worry about it." I had so many problems with my teachers too, man. They hated that I play soccer, but that's another story. And then the goals, from 8 goals, I went to 16. So I literally doubled my goal tally. So let's just say that was a very important pivot at 14 years old, a very important pivot in my life to where I would be heading to in my soccer career. My dad, he understood. My father, he understood the moment that I was in. He understood how important it was to have that guidance, to have that support at 14 years old to help me and guide me, through life. At that age and being put in a situation where you have to grow up very fast and learn new things about you at such a young age, it could get scary. It could get hard. It could get confusing. A lot of chaos in your head because there's so much information that you're taking in about yourself, learning so much about yourself where you don't understand what's happening to you, right? You don't understand the direction that you're going to. So my pops understood it. He's like, I will be full-time dad mode on you right now in Italy. That's the most pivotal part of, I think, my youth career, was that decision that my father took. And after that third year, man, everything started clicking. I was playing each year. I was playing up. I was scoring many goals. I was able to, at 15, play for the second team of Parma, get a couple games in. At 16, I was already starting on the second team of Parma, and that's when the interaction with Manchester United came about. It's a great story. It's a great story because I still remember that feeling of when I met this guy. So I was training. It was a random training session during the week. And at the end of it, this old guy by the name of David Williams. He comes to me and he approaches me. He's like, "Are you Giuseppe Rossi?" I'm like, "Yes, me." "Stick out your hand." So I stick out my hand. He's like, "I'm going to drop a pin in your hand. And that's the team that I work for." I'm like, "Yeah, sure, no problem." I look at it. It's Manchester United. And I'm like, whoa. I used to be a big fan of Andy Cole and Dwight York back in the day, right? The two strikers that played for Manchester United in '99, winning the treble, winning the Champions League and everything. So when I did see that pin, I kind of got, I was happy. I was excited. I'm like, all right, that's cool. When he said that we are interested in having you, bro, my insides were like exploding. I was so happy. I couldn't wait to get to the parking lot to my father and be like, "Hey, Dad, I want you to meet David Williams, and let's further this conversation." Um, so many conversations back and forth. This was in May. We had a month long of conversations back and forth. I didn't have any contract with Parma. I was 16 years old. I didn't have any contract with Parma. They were offering me a 4-year contract, and it was literally a no-brainer because you're talking about Manchester United, man. Manchester United, man. Side note, I'll give you the side note. Listen to this. This is crazy. When I was 12 years old, I was writing letters to my friend. His name is Ralphie. I'm like, "Hey, Ralph, what's up, man? I'm here. Padma's great. I'm doing this. I'm doing that. I can't wait to grow up and play alongside you for Manchester United and scoring goals." It went something like that. And I drew a picture of him crossing the ball to me scoring, whatever, things that 12-year-olds do. So we used to write back and forth. So when I signed for Manchester United, he showed me that letter and I'm like, "Yo, are you crazy?" Like destiny, man, like energy. I don't know what it is, but it's just crazy how we actually brought that letter to life. He didn't play with me on Manchester United. That would have been amazing, but you know, I was able to make it. I was able to, live that dream out, which was amazing. But anyway, going back to our story about the contracts where I didn't have a contract with Parma. They were offering me a 4-year contract, Manchester United. And that's where a little bit of craziness happened with Parma. They didn't want to let me go because I was one of their best players in the youth system. So Arrigo Sacchi is known as the person who revolutionized soccer in Italy worldwide. He won Champions League with Milan. He won many titles with Milan. Actually, I don't know if he won the Champions League with Milan. We have to check that. But great coach, '94 World Cup coach. We lost in the penalties. Amazing coach. He was the sporting director of Parma at that time. So he takes me in at 16 years old, and he's trying to convince me to stay, convince me with a new contract, saying how my decision of leaving would be very bad. It would be frowned upon in Italian soccer. Mind you, I'm a 16-year-old kid. I had 2 training sessions. I remember 2 training sessions with the first team. So I was slowly putting my foot into the first team at 16 years old. But having a figure like Saki, right? That aura that goes around him, right? For a 16-year-old, it could be a little bit intimidating. So when my father saw me go in, he starts chasing us and saying, "Listen, I'm coming in with you guys. I don't want you to go in by yourself with my 16-year-old kid." So obviously, that's what happened. My father was able to come in. As a father, you have to protect your kid, and you want to make sure that things aren't being done properly. After many attempts of them trying to keep me, and after that conversation where it was kind of them making us feel bad, making a decision of that nature, we kind of understood we kind of looked at each other, me and my pops, and we were like, this is a no-brainer. This is literally a no-brainer to where this opportunity comes once in a lifetime. We're talking about Manchester United. So as much as Parma now wanted me to sign a contract, not before, not when I was doing well, but now, because now we have a team that wants me. They want me to sign a contract. We didn't feel like it was something genuine. It was something that they believed in, right? So the decision to leave for Manchester happened that year in 2004, and I finally signed my first professional contract. Talking about Manchester United, what the hell is happening? This is this is interesting, man. Manchester United. When I was when I went to Manchester United, I feel like it was a totally different world than what it is today. I had the I had the fortune to go train with Manchester United 4 years ago, when Ole Gunnar Solskjaer was the coach, and this was a time where I wasn't playing, so um, I was able to call Sir Alex Ferguson and be like, "Hey, boss, how are you? Is there a possibility to come and train for United?" And he was kind enough to talk to Ollie and give me the opportunity to go and train with them for 2 months. It was great. It was awesome. When I got there, it was a different feeling than when I got there when I signed my first professional contract. When I was playing for them in 2004 to 2007, we had the man, the myth, the legend, Sir Alex Ferguson as our manager. Sir Alex was the one who built that culture, who built something that is hard to explain, but it's something that you could feel. When you enter those doors, you feel his aura. Um, his way of doing things was transmitted to every single person, not only players and coaching staff, but to the cleaning ladies, to the receptionist, to the video and audio guy, to the people cleaning um, the fields, the landscapers, everybody um, lived and breathed this culture that was built thanks to what Sir Alex Ferguson did when he first got there. He started off by believing in the youth. You have the class of 92, right? The famous class of 92. Uh, Neville's, Scholes's, Beckham, Giggsy, Nicky Butt. These players are the ones who laid down the foundation of what Manchester United is today. Fast forward to now, and to when I went there 4 years ago, and now, can you guys name a player that came from the youth system that is established in the team as a leader? Off the top of my head, no. Off the top of my head, no. And I feel like when Sir Alex Ferguson left, that culture left. What happened is that the focus was more on winning right away. And therefore, when the patience of waiting for the development of a player is gone, then you have to find a quick solution to winning. And what happens is that bad decisions are made. The focus is in the wrong area to grow as a club. And therefore, you start straining away from that culture. You start straining away from what worked throughout all these years. Because every coach has an ego. And every coach wants to put a stamp on such a big team like Manchester United. But newsflash, there's only one Sir Alex Ferguson. So you had many coaches that came down and tried to bring forth their ideas and start their own ways of doing things, right? From the Mourinhos, from the Moyes, from the Mangals. These are coaches that have very strong personalities that are very successful. But it's hard to change a culture of a team like Manchester United. The ones, in my opinion, the coach who is able to have success are the ones who is able to put their ego to the side and believe in the culture that was established that made Manchester United who Manchester United is. And listen, at times, yes, I get it. It's hard. It's hard to put your ego to the side because you're a man. You want to make your own path. And I respect that 100%. But there's certain establishments, there's certain clubs that live and breathe their culture. And therefore, once things start going a little bit astray from what they're used to, then that's when you start hearing those boos. You start feeling a little bit of, murmurs among the fans, and therefore their patience starts running out quick. You're seeing it today where, yeah, Manchester United are not getting the results that they want. But let's not forget that last year they had a very good season, right? According to the previous seasons that they had. They got fourth place, playing in Champions League, so that's great. They lost in the finals of the FA Cup versus Man City, but they won the Carabao Cup, right? So in recent history, that's a good season for Manchester United. But how did those results from last year become okay for a team like Manchester United? When I got there, when there was Sir Alex Ferguson throughout his whole entire career, that season of last year was considered almost a failure. So now today we're going to talk about the Glazers, because when they took over, when I was there in 2004, right, there was a lot of resistance by the fans, and rightfully so, because a new group, an American group that take over an English team, was something almost new. The fans had problems with them because they were never present because of certain financial decisions that they decided to make, and therefore, since day one, there was always this friction between fans and the owners. The problem that I have still to this day is that this is an ownership group that doesn't really care too much about the product, doesn't care too much about what's happening on the field. They don't care about the soccer part. What they care about is the pockets, right? They care about what's the right investment, who's the player who could bring in the marketing dollars. And yeah, it's good that you have the money to spend. Well done. I'm happy to see that. But what's the main reason why we're getting this player? Is it because to benefit the product on the field, to better the product on the field and the results on the field? Or is it for the marketing purposes, the resale value, whatever it could be, right? In this moment, and it started, yes, during the period of when the Glazers took over, that the shift from building a culture kind of went away. And it was more about building the business part. When that started, that's when things started going south for Man United, right? A season like last year was a mediocre season, almost a failure during the years of Ferguson, right? I feel like today the acceptance of being okay in that club right now is welcomed among players, is welcomed among what is happening around the name of Manchester United. And listen, it's hard to get back to the days of Sir Alex Ferguson, right? It's hard to get back to those glory days of always winning the Premier League, winning Champions League, because there's teams now in the Premier League that are well equipped, teams that have spent properly. Now, not spend top dollar. It doesn't mean just because you spend a lot of money that it's going to lead to success. No. There has to be strategic and smart ways of going about investing to create a team that is going to win. To make these certain decisions, I'm always in the belief that there have to be people that understand the game itself, that understand the X's and O's, people who live and breathe this game, and that their first thought is literally the product on the field and not only the dollar signs. This is the problem that I see with Manchester United, that it's going away from its core values, what has been built in the past, to a huge business-oriented club to where results and product on the field and fans are put second to the financial parts of this game. And I don't give all the blame on the players. I don't give all the blame on coaches, because everything starts from the top down. And the top, we all know, are the owners. They're the ones who establish what is happening underneath them. And if you allow certain things, if you act a certain way, then it's just a trickle-down effect. Listen, I'm still today a Manchester United fan. I want them to do good. I want them to do better. And last year was a great step forward to getting back to those days. I just hope that it's not going to be a one-off and that this year we're back to square one. So I'm rooting hard. I'm hoping that things will turn positive. But guys, if there's anything else that you want me to talk about, you want to have a conversation, just leave a comment below. I'll answer every question that you guys have regarding this topic or any other topic. And now, my favorite part of the show, Pepito's hot take. My hot take for this week is that I'm not buying all that bullshit on Marcus Rashford. For me, Marcus Rashford is a world-class player. I don't care if he doesn't score for 2, 3, 4 games in a row. You could see that he lives and breathes that shirt. That's something that I care for. That's something that's important to me. I've had the privilege to train with him for those 2 months, and I've seen his qualities. But truthfully, you don't even have to train with him to understand what he's capable of doing on the field, because you guys see it every Sunday. He's a vital, vital part to the Manchester United team for what he brings, for what he does on the field. And for me, he is probably one of the most important figures on that team. Not only what he does on the field, but what he brings with him. He's not only the most important player for me on the Manchester United team, but what I look at is also the quality of the human being, because the qualities of the human being are then expressed on the field. He's somebody who is unselfish, somebody who puts other people's needs before him, right? And you see that with the great things that he's done off the field. And therefore, just because he's not there scoring goals every single Sunday, or he's not the player who's going to take on the whole team and try and being the hero all by himself. Just because he doesn't do that doesn't mean that he's not consistent. Doesn't mean that he's not a world-class player. Sometimes the definition of world-class for people is just what you're able to see in that moment, right? The big boom moment, which is the goal, which is a great save, which is a slide tackle. But the game is so much more than that. And therefore, in my opinion, Marcus Rashford is a world-class player. That's my hot take for today. I'll see you guys next week. Hey, everybody. This is Giuseppe Rossi, and welcome to my podcast. This is something new for me, but one thing I do know is that you could click the subscribe button below.